Hello and welcome to today's Business Strategy Live, and today we're going to interview Jacqui Rock, who is the Vice President of Bournemouth Chamber of Commerce. So Jacqui, how have you been finding your role as Vice President?
Well, it's been very interesting actually, because I inherited the position on the 1st of April, and obviously since then we've been in lockdown, so it's been completely different than I ever expected when I accepted the position. But having said all of that, obviously I've been on Chamber for a number of years, about 7 years, and it's kind of the same old really. You know, it's there about supporting the businesses in our conurbation. So just with obviously a little bit of a different element where we've been signposting a lot more in support of those members.
Yeah, so have you been helping members to access government support and local council support and things like that? You've been posting things like that on your website, I expect, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely, all of that, because obviously initially everybody knew that when lockdown first happened, it was a bit of a scramble. People didn't really know what was happening. There was lots of information coming out from lots of places. And as you quite well know, Steve, with Bournemouth Chamber, we're the conduit between Bournemouth Council, or BCP as it is now, and our businesses on the high street, in whichever shape or form they come to us. And our whole purpose is to signpost them. We've, as I said, been doing that a lot more, but also what we've recognised is we have a monthly meeting called the Local Government Affairs Meeting. And at the Local Government Affairs Meeting, we hold that at the Town Hall with the Council and key stakeholders in the conurbation. And that has proven its worthiness during this period, because we've enabled and supported Council in that to create a task force. And I don't know if you've heard or anybody's heard, but they're calling it R3. Don't ask me what the 3 R's stand for, but I know one is about re-emergence. So obviously when we come out of this, which hopefully we're starting to do, what we've enabled us to do is that those key stakeholders, the key organisations within the conurbation, all come together, supply BCP with all the relevant information, and then they form it together. And then we disseminate it through all of our social media, in any newsletters, any way we can. But what that has done is enabled our members and non-members to actually have one place to go rather than lots of places, which was obviously what we experienced.
That's really useful. The Local Government Affairs Meeting, that's a really critical meeting, because, as you say, businesses can put forward their issues to the council through the chamber and stuff like that, and even come along and speak sometimes. So it's a really vital role that the chamber plays there in talking to the council and getting things moved on and raising concerns that people have. And I'm sure that when we get back from lockdown, there's going to be masses of concerns that business will have, because the high street has pretty much been devastated by the everything closing and being locked down. It's been a very difficult time for many businesses, and how they recover from that is going to be quite difficult, I think.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And one of the organisation that has come out of this is something that Andy Lennox has actually started, called the Wonky Table. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I've heard of it, but I'm not quite sure what it is, to be honest.
Okay, well, I'll try and explain. I'm probably going to do Andy a complete disservice, so if Andy is listening, or if he ever gets to see this, apologies now. But basically, Andy pulled together an organisation really of restaurants, catering facilities, even our clubs, anything that's entertainment wide. Pulled them all together, because obviously they were in disarray when this first happened. And one of the things I know that Andy is really trying to combat is the whole point about their leases and rents that these premises have to pay each month. And what he's trying to really back up and lobbying the government on is to back end any lease payments or rental payments that these people have to pay, so that they're not paying now, they get a little bit break, and they'll add that on to the back end of it, which we all know that's what Chamber really stands for. Is if you go at something on your own, you're not really going to get very far. But if you're there as an organisation, and those are the types of brilliant things that happen. And Andy attends our LGA every month, so his contribution is vital. We also have BAHA, which is BH Hoteliers Association, attending that meeting as well. So it covers a wide spectrum. Yellow buses, even Streamline Taxis attend, and all the trading districts within the area as well. They're also very welcome. So it's a really good group of people that come together to try to clear out the noise and actually do something good for the whole conurbation, really.
No, that is fantastic, and businesses will need a lot of support coming through this, and hopefully we're going to get that 2 meters turned down to 1 meter, so that businesses stand a chance of being able to at least break even, if not make profits going forward. So that's going to be good. The other thing that I know you do is obviously the Chamber is very active in doing networking, and I know you've had to adapt that for lockdown and social distancing and things like that. So how have you been changing the way that you do networking?
Well, it's really interesting, actually, because our networking has been quite flat since lockdown, because we've been so focused on really helping our members. I'll answer that question, but first of all, I kind of wanted to explain to people that all the directors on the Chamber that manage Bournemouth Chamber are all voluntary. That's the first thing. I mean, you know that very well, Steve, because BP last year. So they have their own businesses to contend with, and that can be seen as a negative, but actually I see it as a real positive too, because all of the people on Chamber have their own businesses, so they know how business works, and that's where I feel that we can really benefit our members. That said, obviously our directors have also had their own stresses and strains around their businesses. Some have done really well through it and others haven't, and that is obviously relevant to what's also happening in the conurbation. And with that, we didn't want to add to that noise when it all started happening. So it's only really in the last month or so we've really focused on events, because there's been so much, everybody knows about Zoom now, right? This is the first time I've used this particular system. It's really straightforward, which has been great. But, when I first started saying to the other directors, we need to go on a Zoom call, it was actually quite frightening for people because they'd never seen it before. And now we talk all the time on this, which is amazing. However, we didn't want to flood the market again with lots of events. And so we've actually taken a step back. And last night actually was the first one we had. And what we've decided to do through this period is do what we're calling BH meetups. They happen on the first Monday and the third Monday of every month. And they are really, we effectively get speakers in. And the one on the first Monday is at lunchtime, 12:30. Video conferencing, obviously online, and the third Monday is in the evening at 6 o'clock. So we're trying to capture the whole market, and we're doing it on behalf of our members. So anybody that becomes a member can actually present. And last night we had Wei Man Chung, who represents his own business, which is WMC Investments, and they're based around St James's Place, pensions. But his whole discussion last night was about COVID-19 and future wealth awareness, how we can manage that coming out of this, and obviously hopefully going into, I don't like to use the word normal because I don't think it'll ever be the same again, but certainly getting back into the workplace. And that's very much a message that Bournemouth Chamber are giving off now. We're about to initiate a newsletter about getting back to work and pulling everything into that, so that people have a guideline of really where they can move to. Yeah,
no, that's fantastic. I think one of the things I know that a lot of people are concerned about, and I've seen this on a lot of webinars and things I've been looking at, is that they think that potentially there could be a lot of issues with employees when we return back, because unfortunately some of them will probably lose their jobs and things like that, and there'll be claims for unfair dismissal and that kind of stuff going on. So I think employment issues are going to be a big concern, obviously, and also the social distancing is still an issue, and taking the right measures. I mean, the Health and Safety Executive have published lots of information on how to protect your staff and your customers and that kind of stuff. So there are so many issues when businesses get back to work. It's going to be quite mind-blowing for businesses really to cope with all the change that's necessary to be able to be compliant and safe. And I know that the Chamber will have a massive role in helping to educate people. And if you're doing that through your newsletters and things like that, that's fantastic as well.
Yeah, no, it is. And you're absolutely right, Steve. It's I was talking to a friend the other day, and they run a big hotel in Bournemouth, and it's coming in waves, because obviously while people are furloughed, there's financial support for, say, a hotelier, for example, but we all know that the percentage of that is reducing. So I feel what she said to me was that through July, August, September, they will be fully staffed, and that they will be running in the evenings and so on and so forth. Then October, November, December, they're actually only going to have a skeleton staff that works 9 to 5. Well, in the hotel industry, it's kind of unheard of, really. So she's going to have to lay off people, make redundancies, which they don't want to do because they are a family run hotel. And, you know, they've got some good members of staff, but they've had to make that difficult decision. If there is a positive out of that, how I can say about it, they can already let their staff know who sadly might be in the line for redundancy, which isn't ever a good thing. So it gives them time to be able to look for something else. If there's something else out there, I obviously appreciate that. But at the same token, for those good people, as you know, Bournemouth's a small town. When you come to it, people know people. For those people that are affected by redundancy, there's also an opportunity of knowing that when they go to a new position, it's not because something challenging might have happened in their last role. It's just purely down to the fact it's been coronavirus. So, you know, however difficult it is, and I would hate for anybody to be in a situation where they don't have a role to play. However, it is a very real issue, and try to look on the positive and the opportunity that that might give you. Equally, the hotel don't want to get rid of these members of staff. The hope is next year they'll come back good again, and they want to take those members of staffs back again, but they might not be there anymore. So there's lots of things really going on with different waves of how this pandemic has, you know, hit us, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that this could actually be, maybe not this year, but certainly next year, better for the UK hospitality industry, because people may be more inclined not to travel and stay in the UK, so have staycations rather than going abroad. So there could be a bit of a boom at some point when people think, well, I really do need a holiday, but I don't want to go abroad, so I'm going to pick somewhere in the UK because I think that'll be safer for me.
Oh gosh,
and also the experience of people with cruises and all that kind of stuff. It's no good going on a cruise if you can't get off it, is it? Which is what happened to some people. So
absolutely. And the other thing that people have got to consider, I don't believe that if you go abroad and you come back presently, that the quarantining yourself for 2 weeks, I think that's still there at the moment. And what do people do in that scenario? So if they don't go abroad, then they don't hit that issue. And you're quite right. For the area we live in, which is absolutely beautiful, there could be, and even Boris could say about it tonight, you know, there could be an opportunity with accommodation type businesses where they actually benefit big time, especially with the beautiful weather we're having. You know, I'm the first one that loves to go away, but, you know, at the same token, when the weather's like this and we live in an area like this, you know, pay back to local is what I say, you know, and help those people that might have been affected by things. And there are plenty of things to do here. Let's say without the, you know, while the weather's like this, especially this week, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lovely, fantastic day today as well. So, and it's supposed to be good for the next few days as well. So great weather for being in Bournemouth.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, and so, even local people, you know, can go locally. They don't have to go miles away. You know, yeah, it's just really trying to benefit from what we already have around here.
Yeah. How do people join? How do businesses join Bournemouth Chamber, and what sort of what are the sort of some of the top benefits of joining the chamber? What would you say to that sort of thing?
Sure. So obviously to join, you've got it scrolling down the bottom anyway. So just contact our secretary, and obviously I don't need to repeat the website. So Christina's great. She will pick up your mail and obviously highlight that accordingly. I've already touched on a little bit of it. Obviously, while we're in lockdown, things are slightly different in terms of events because they are obviously video conferencing, but there's an opportunity to present on one of our video conferencing. And the other beauty of that is that we do all the marketing for you. So we'll put it on our social media, put it in our newsletter. We get all of our directors to promote it through their channels as well on a personal level. So you get that immediately. As I say, we do 2 events a month, so that's a bonus as well. What we also are trying to do is obviously support our businesses. Once you become a member, then obviously you get receipt of the newsletter, you get all the connections there. If you have an issue with anything that you do, of course, we're not going to restrict non-members if they're really in distress. However, we will always prioritise our members, because that's what it's about, really, to be part of Chamber. As we've already touched on, you've got the local government affairs meeting that you might not necessarily be able to attend, but certainly we can bring things forward for you to that particular event. And it's a closed event, obviously, just because it needs to be, otherwise we get hundreds of people going. However, it's a really important and vital thing that we do with regards to Chamber. So that's sort of a couple of things that we do. I know, Steve, you were really prevalent in the corporate social responsibility project that we had going. I don't know, do you want to cover off on that and what that was? To explain.
As people probably know, I'm no longer a director of the Chamber, but I am now an ambassador, and I will be still helping to promote corporate social responsibility, and also working with the charities as soon as we can get through to a point where we can actually do some of that a little bit more again. So I know that the first thing that we're planning to do on that is a charities forum, and we plan to get the council along to talk about how the local lottery works and how that can support local charities, because charities have played an important role during the lockdown period. And we need to find, I think people have appreciated them more as well. So we need to find ways to support charities as much as possible. It's also about supporting employees. That's always been part of our corporate social responsibility. And employees will be suffering mental stress from working at home and things like that. So we need to support them with that. Also, buying local and being sustainable have always been core parts of our corporate social responsibility objective. So once we, in the next few months, we'll be rebooting that and trying to get that going again, so that we can get businesses interested in that. And there'll be many more businesses that will actually be looking for support as well in terms of how to deal with the situations when they move forward. So we will be working on that again soon. And this time I'll be in the role of ambassador, which will also enable me to work with other business organisations to try and bring other people into this. So I'm hoping to work with the Dorset Chamber, also with the FSB, and with the Institute directors and any other organisation I can, to try and involve more people in trying to take that forward as a way forward. So we will be working on that again soon, and that's very important too. So that's great.
No, Steve, the charities forum you made massive, to be honest. A few people used to turn up, and by the time you stepped away from being a director, obviously, to becoming an ambassador now, it was amazing before lockdown. And the beauty, why I love the charities forum, is you get lots of charities together, but obviously it's about working together. But also you get a lot of businesses there, right? So the businesses look at the charities in support of them. And sometimes it's not a financial gain that the charities want. Sometimes it's volunteers. It's that simple. And these businesses are able to offer people that may want to volunteer for a charity. And I'm also aware things like, if you tender for business, sometimes tendering for a business part of that tendering process is to say, what do you do in terms of CSR? Corporate social responsibility. And you're ticking a box because your employees are volunteering with a charity, that's a really good offering, really, in terms of supporting. And probably charities, more than any business, will need supporting at the moment, because I would imagine their fundraising efforts are really difficult at the moment. That's not to certainly undervalue what's happening in business generally, but certainly I'm sure that they are struggling.
The other thing that a lot of businesses didn't seem to realise with the charities forum is that charities do buy services, and they've often commented that they would welcome businesses to come who can supply services to charities, because it's useful to meet those kind of businesses as well. So everybody from bid writers, marketing companies, PR, all that kind of stuff is all stuff that the charities will need and will want to use to promote themselves going forward, so that they can continue to receive the kind of support that they need. Because they've suffered quite a bit through this lockdown period as well, because they couldn't do fundraising events in the same kind of way that they did, like marathons and that sort of stuff. So there are lots of ways that they need support too. So
Yeah,
we'll get
great.
that going again soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I agree.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Jacqui. That's been fantastic interviewing you.
Thank you
And
for
thank
having
you
me.
very much for coming on. And maybe we can do this again sometime as well. So
Sounds good.
it's great.
No,
Thanks.
thanks for having me, Steve.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, and for those who are going to listen later, please do check out the links for Bournemouth Chamber, and also do join, because it's an organisation that's well worth joining. Okay, thank you.